Okay. Welcome to the pod.
2 cents, baby.
Today is a very special day, and I'm very excited. Ladies and gentlemen, on today's episode, we have the one, the only, Chris Liston with Bison Inspections.
Holy smokes.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
I appreciate it.
Very excited.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been an inspector and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we're going back to the beginning? Or?
Sure.
All right. Yeah, so I grew up in the West Coast in Washington area. Went to Heritage High School, did a bunch of sports there. Then slowly my wife and I, where we met, girlfriend at the time, but met in high school. And then we moved to Boise, Idaho for a stint. Ended up in Redmond, Oregon, which is like a suburb of Bend, Oregon, and kind of did a little dabbling of stuff, as you know, if you kind of figure out your life when you're younger. And then slowly I kind of got into actually firefighting and EMS, which brought me to North Dakota because the wife has some family. Ended up in Fargo, and from there, I still am in firefighting and EMS. I work as a paramedic firefighter, and then what got me into inspecting was my dad ended up moving out here from Washington. Met an inspector. He wanted me to kind of be there because my dad was still back in the West Coast. And so I kind of shadowed him. Looked like a good gig and really enjoyed it. So kind of got into it that way.
Okay.
I got three kiddos and a beautiful wife. And she puts
Nice,
up with a fourth kid with me. So.
Yes, she does. It matters.
Yeah,
She's a
know.
great lady who puts up with you.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm here, man. So,
So how long you been doing inspections?
So I'm an inspector about a little bit under 2.5 years now. So
Okay.
Yep, I really enjoy it. It's a good gig, and get to meet some pretty cool people like yourself.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit biased because Chris is the guy I always use, but he is the best in town.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh,
Very
okay.
cool.
Well, let's get into it, man. What are some of the most common things that you see with inspections, specifically in this area?
Sure.
In the Midwest.
Yep. Yeah. So biggest thing I find that's probably the most crucial, or basically the grade of the house. So when you have a house that's kind of negative slope or slopes inward, you get a bunch of water and stuff that really just impedes on the house. And water is super bad for a home, whether it's in your foundation, in your siding, some kind of bush that's holding in water to your siding or your roof. And so that's kind of like that basic one that I see most often, is that negative grade or even grade that kind of sinks back into that foundation.
Okay.
Causes tons of issues. And then, new homeowners don't know what's going on. And so it causes a lot of cracking, a lot of shifting in the foundation, which causes all kind of framing issues. And so that's kind of the biggest one that I think that I see most commonly, that can be easily avoided, just building up that grade and getting it away from the house. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I always try and reiterate, just get that water away from your place. Whether it's your sump pump discharging too close to the house, whether it's your gutters draining too close to the house. That's kind of my big one, because that's super avoidable and it's a big ticket item if it goes bad. So yeah, that's probably the most common one.
Yeah, no doubt. If you ever get a home inspection and it's a slab on grade, so no basement, you're like, okay, this should be just fine. Because it seems like, it seems, well, you still have an attic and stuff like that, but it seems like just the majority of the issues around here anyway is just water in the basement.
Man.
Well, not only water, but
soil.
cracks and what it does, right? Because we got very clay-based soil, right?
Yep.
So it absorbs a lot of water, and we've got pretty harsh conditions, right? So that water expands and contracts, and just a lot of nasty stuff can happen.
We built in 2018 out in the Wilds area, and the clay around here holds onto that moisture, and so when we went down, I think we were 2 months into the house, and there was water coming in a small spot. It wasn't flowing in. But basically, long story short, the problem ended up being that clay was just holding onto that water and it's kind of leaking over into the ground. So they had to pull it back, put some pea gravel on the side there, and it fixed the problem. But the reason that's so crucial is because of that clay just holding onto that water. So yeah, totally right. So water's bad, man. Get that away.
Well, and isn't it true, a lot of other places in the country, they don't have that issue? A lot of places don't even have, sump pumps.
Even Jamestown, I went and inspected a property in Jamestown. They didn't have any sump. They had nothing. I guess they were up on high enough where that soil is not holding into that water, and he had a basement, had everything. So yeah. And then in Washington, it was funny because you look back at kind of where you came from, like there's no basements in Washington. They're all slab houses. I mean, rarely, I guess there's probably basements, but yeah, it's kind of a weird sump pump. Some people are just like, what are those? My dad moving out here, he had a couple rentals in Washington. He even was like, I don't know what a sump pump is, man. So yeah, super unique to this area, or I guess there's probably other places, but in this area, I mean, water's a killer, and you know, it's definitely super important to kind of just get that water away from the place. Yeah.
Well, and then too, you alluded to it earlier too, and I'd never really thought about this until home inspection last summer, I think it was, but they had just a bunch of vegetation right around the house, right? So that also holds in a ton of water,
and it keeps those like critters away from you. If you can, I know they look pretty, you know, bushes are nice. I hate gardening, so it's not my thing, but yeah, when you got stuff that's abutted up against that house, that just holds that moisture, and when it gets cold, you know, it freezes, and it causes all kind of issues with like vinyl siding getting brittle and plastic popping, and even if it's a metal side, you know, it just deteriorates everything so much faster if you're just to get that thing away. And it's a simple fix, man. Just get some dirt and get it away. So
just slope it down.
Slope it down, man. Get it away from the house, and you should be good to go. But it is one of those things that if it does happen to you and you're not prepared for it, you're like, crap. Just like if your sump pump goes out and everybody else is trying to buy one, it's kind of a pain. So,
right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that's like kind of unique to our area?
As far as like just like problems, or just how the construction practices in general?
Sure. Yeah, both.
Yeah, sump pumps are big, basements are big. From what I understand, talking to contractors, I'm not a contractor, but the frost line is 5 feet. So that's why there's so many basements here, is because it's such a cheap square footage. Add another 3-4 feet, and you got a whole.
What do you mean by frost line?
So when you build a house, you've got to build. Usually the code is based on the area, right? So they're going to have a set of depth to pour your foundation. So in Washington, it doesn't freeze here. Like the frost line isn't very high, or it is very high. So you can dig, you know, or Arizona, for example, you could probably dig a foot down, pour some concrete, and you're good to go. Okay. Don't quote me on those. Or hold me to it. I'm not a contractor by any means. But in here, we've got to go 5 feet, because if at that point you're getting issues with cold, and you got to make sure you're getting good soil that you're pouring your foundation on. And so seeing all basements, it just made sense for contractors, like, hey, let's build up as opposed to build out. Like Texas, everyone's slab on grade, but they want 3,000 square feet, so they're going out, and their lots are freaking 7 acres long or big. So, so here is just basements. You're gonna see a lot of basements, and so with that comes that water problem. So that's probably just the biggest. It's just basements in general. And there's like a whole company. I was just listening to a podcast about a gentleman. He's in the Fargo area, but it's kind of a big conglomerate. They actually specialize in fixing foundations and fixing basements. And so that's a big thing, and so it's a common practice. Like I've inspected older homes, 100-year-old homes, where those slabs are caving in on themselves. Lots of bracing and stuff to just keep them up. So those basements, while they're nice and awesome to have that extra square footage, they can be an issue. But yeah, cool. It's probably the biggest one.
So what are some things where if someone's worried about, say they're shopping for a house, worried about water in the basement or foundation issues, what are some things that they can look for?
Sure.
To kind of be telltale signs that...
Yep. If it's finished, it's going to be a lot easier, because you're going to see like water damage to lower parts of it. Because usually, when a water intrudes on a basement, it's not filling the whole thing, right? It's filling probably like 6 inches to 8 inches of water, and it may be stagnant for a period of time. And so you're seeing like baseboard moldings that are like deteriorating. There's some rot. Obviously, the foundation itself, if it's covered, it's hard to tell. But you're going to see some bowing in. The biggest thing I look for, that if you can't see it, are like cracks in a doorway, or door jambs, or windows, or if windows aren't shutting the way they should, or doors aren't shutting the way they should. With drywall, plaster, it's a little different. But with drywall, you're going to see these like angled cracks off the corners. Straight up and down cracks, or straight horizontal cracks, usually not a big deal. Usually not. But if you see those, then I've got to investigate further. So I'll grab like a 4-foot level, check the foundation, make sure it's plumb. If I see some kind of issue, then unfortunately I refer somebody to an expert in the foundation, because that's a big ticket item, for a homeowner. So that's a big issue.
It's scary.
Dude.
Like that's.
You don't want to get into a brand new house and then have to pay $20-30 grand to fix your foundation.
That's like a biblical principle, like building on a firm foundation, right?
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's like
100%,
and that's a quick way to really scare a first-time home buyer for sure, or anybody really. But
well, and on the opposite end, those vertical cracks that we're talking about, those sometimes scare people, but in reality, they're really just tape joint cracks. So it's just where that drywall butts up, and they put that tape on there. So to on the other side of the coin, but 100%, you don't want to get into a house and have to pay a bunch of money for a foundation.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I've always kind of thought about this, like me and Josh get to be the ones to show them the house. They're all excited, and then we invite the big bad inspector in.
We are the
says
bad
this
guy.
house
We
stinks.
are the bad guy. Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Just kind of. I'm sure there's got to be some challenges and some rewarding parts.
Yeah, for me, man, like I understand you guys are trying to eat off this, right? Like I don't want to kill your deal, but I also don't want you to have an angry customer down the road. So I try and balance it the best I can, where essentially I'm going to bring them the news and be urgent about said news, depending on what it is, and explain the remedies for that. And have you there. It's super important. I always like having, some inspectors don't have their clients there, or you and your client. Obviously, you got to let us in, but I like to have them there in the moment. That way we can show them, like, hey, this is what I'm seeing. You're going to see a picture of it. You're going to see all this stuff, like an outlet, right? So an outlet can have multiple different issues with it, but usually they're quick fixes, So I want to be able to explain, like, yes, this is going to look gross. It's going to be safety hazard, and it's going to have all this thing saying you need to get this done. But in reality, it's a 2-cent fix. Let's just go to Home Depot, get an outlet cover, call it good. 2 cents. Yeah, I did that on purpose. But yeah, back to the question. I try and do my best to just treat you with respect in the sense that I don't want to kill your deal, but I also want you to provide a good product and me to provide a good product so that you're not having this angry customer 6 months down the road. So
and we don't ever want to put someone in a house that
for total clarity, we don't want
Right? But there are situations that are just not that big a deal, but it seems like it,
But it's almost like the agent's like staring at you like,
yeah, right.
What are you doing, dude?
What are you about to say?
Well, and the spectrum can be where they're just chipping everything apart, but it's not that big a deal.
And I've found that, and I feel like that's a very easy thing to do, where you could make anything seem super, super scary,
dramatic,
or anything seem super like it's no big deal when like a foundation issue, like that's a big deal. Like mold in the attic, like is more of a big deal.
Right.
But you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
It's just but I couldn't agree more. Like I prefer to be there myself and with the client there, so we can all talk about it. Because if it's like, just email us the report and then we look at it. Like I look at it, you look at it, we all kind of interpret it differently,
right? And
everything on there can seem super, super scary.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and even when you describe it, it's still not as good as like, dude, this is it. This is what we're looking at right here in real time. And plus what I've always said in a home inspection, that's a snapshot in time. That's something that's happening at this moment or not happening at this moment. Mm-hmm. So I could leave, or we could all leave and come back, and it's 180 degrees different. So
and you're at the mercy of a couple different things, like time of year, weather, all that
absolutely.
type of stuff. Because that's
And that's where it sucks. You're exactly right. Because like you got a roof. I can't get on a roof in the middle of winter. And to be fair, my standards of practice, I don't have to get on any roof, but I think that I'm not providing a good enough service if I'm not jumping on a roof and looking at it. In the wintertime, it's just unrealistic. The ice is too dangerous, not worth it. So I always offer my clients or you guys and just let them know I will come back once the weather gets better. I know it's kind of a moot point at that point in time, but at least I can kind of give you at least a little bit of a guidance to like, this is the issue. I apologize. I couldn't get up there, but
that's kind of always what I say. It's like, they're like, so and so good. I'm like, he's pretty sweaty by the time he's done. On the road.
I sweat like a fiend too. Yeah, absolutely. So
any like out of the ordinary things that you found during inspections or wild stories?
Found? Yeah. No. Yeah. I probably got more wild stories on the EMS side of things, but with the with the finding of stuff, we found a bat one time in a filter, like a HVAC filter. Do you know what I mean? Like it was dead, luckily, but it's more like I found a bunch of animals, like a rat tied up in an HVAC system. So just stuff like that.
Change your furnace filter.
Yeah, please change your furnace filter. That's another one that. Simple, easy fix, and you can destroy your HVAC, and that stuff's like $10,000. Like that's minimum $10,000. So, I don't know if we're gonna go on that tangent, but essentially, like if you don't change your filter, if it's working hard in the summer, it's gonna cause a bunch of ice in your egg coil, and all that stuff's got to melt in your components to be done. That's not a good thing. And if it's in the winter, it's gonna kill your heat. And I don't know where everyone's from, but Fargo gets a little cold. and you don't want to be in the cold without any heat. So
coming off a nasty winter. Right
a
now.
long one.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I was ready for summer to be here. We went down to Texas like 100 degrees. It was super nice. So,
Oh, dude.
So, I mean, this just reminded me of this, but because of the nasty winter and all the rain that we've had, like I'm having a lot of past clients call me and be like, hey, my basement there's a big crack in it and I'm getting water in it. Like, does that have to do with that clay and the downgrade? Or
pretty much. I would assume so. I mean, without seeing it myself. Either that or the sump pumps down or wherever. But that's kind of it's every situation is different. It's kind of what I'm getting at. But probably more than likely that clay is holding that water and that water has nowhere to go. So it's going to find the path of least resistance.
I heard something. It was actually from our broker, and it was just kind of interesting. She said it's a good idea to actually like water your foundation. So she has like a hose around the foundation that is putting water in it. And a big reason she said why people are getting water in their basements is because it was so dry before, and then we got all this water at once, and it just like, because once water is there, it kind of expands, right? Like the dirt and.
It's gonna, like the dirt, if it's dry, it's gonna absorb it. Yeah, I would assume. I guess I'm not 100%
sure.
sure.
Yeah, so she was saying she actually like had a hose and just like watered her foundation so that it wouldn't expand so much when all of it came. It's kind of interesting.
Never heard that.
Maybe she lied to me.
I'm not sure. I don't know if I would ever suggest that.
I don't trust her. I'm just kidding.
You said that on mic. So. Yeah, I don't. I don't know. Can't compliment on that one, but I'm not. Sounds like it makes sense. I guess I'm not sure, but hey.
Yeah, it makes sense in theory.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, it seems like that's foundation's a big deal. Another, getting into electrical, that always seems like to be a big deal, like improperly sized breakers and stuff like that. And,
Yeah, electrical can be tricky, because there's things as minimal as, I plug in an outlet tester and it's an open ground, right? Which is not a huge deal. It's just wire in the back that isn't there. And whether or not the house is old or new, if it's older, that's expected. That's usually the code. They didn't have ground wires and outlets back then. And if it's new, then that's a big problem because we want to make sure that shouldn't be what your client is buying. Right. It's still a safety hazard either way. But it just kind of, it's one of those things that you just got to talk your client through and understand that an electrician can do it totally fine. And it will probably cost you a couple $100, but it's an easy fix. If you want to, this is the biggest purchase of your life. So don't let this little thing get in your way if it's not what you want or kind of deal. So, but another thing I was thinking of just talking about water and foundation is the condensers on the outside. So the AC condensers, where basically that big old giant thing on the outside of your house that funnels AC in your house. A lot of people cover those up in the winter, and that was a kind of a small fix that you can do. Basically what happens, or at least in my opinion and what I've seen, when people cover those, which they can get rained on all spring and fall, but it's a big deal if they get a little snow on them. I don't understand that. But when you cover them, it creates, like the heat melts the snow, creates a bunch of condensation inside that covering, and then it deteriorates those components on the inside because metal rusts, and no matter how much you try and think it won't, it will. And that stuff just goes bad, causes a bunch of off-balance issues. So don't cover your HVAC condensers. Yeah.
What else can people do to prevent issues, like small things that people can be doing or checking on?
Sure.
Good homeowner 101.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Great. Obviously, like we talked about, don't cover that stuff. Don't put plastic on your windows in the winter.
Really?
That is not a good thing because that just holds moisture again inside that windowsill, and that little thin layer of plastic's not doing anything for you. I see that all the time.
I've always thought that too.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't do anything. And it literally, like I said, it just holds water in between that plastic and your window. And those windows, they're wood usually, or some kind of plastic component that no matter what you put water on, it's going to swell or it's going to cause issues. And then you're just buying, $20,000 worth of windows, Plumbing, always stay up on plumbing, keep that as clear as possible. Electrical, that's kind of really a specialty thing you can't really do too much about. But, just staying clean, man. Don't destroy your home. Try and keep it nice. So,
right,
yeah.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. But, yeah.
Interesting. Cool. You got anything else?
No, I was hoping we get something weird popping up in an attic or something. But
we had a bird's nest one time in the attic. Yeah,
now we're talking.
But wait, what made that ironic was inside this access was the master bedroom. So I popped up in this attic and I kind of like looked around, and then all of a sudden I looked over and it was just a bird's nest. Luckily there's no birds in it, but it was a little square. I was like, I did not expect to see that. So I think the little guy climbed into one of the roof fence and ended up just nestling in there. So I don't know. That was a little. It's always animal stuff. I don't know. You don't really find much else besides that. But and then I'm sure there's weird stuff that I've seen that it's funny because coming from the 911 side, you walk into countless homes, and so you see things and you're like, oh, whatever. I've seen that a million times. But it's weird to the normal person. So in these situations, I'll go to a house to do an inspection and see some random stuff that you're like, okay, I've not seen that before, but keep this clean.
Yeah, I don't know. I always think like, too, you get so like worked up about a home inspection.
Yeah.
And not to like throw my parents under the bus here, but like you think about the home you grew up in. Like I didn't know what an egress window was until I came here. Because they're like, does this have an egress window? And it's like, yeah, it's got this little window. It's like, that's what my bedroom had. But like, that's not an egress window. You know what I mean?
You could try and fit through it. I mean, but it may not work out.
But just stuff like that. You know, I was like, I survived 18 years and that. I don't know. You know, so it's like, you know, it is a certain point in time where you're having professionals look at the house. But then if you know, same thing when you go and build a house. Like you get so worried about the handles or this and that and the other thing. It's like I've lived in some places. You know what I mean? Like this will be fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Put the most athletic kid in that room. The fastest one if there's a fire. That's
not me. That's not me. You gotta put me right next to a door, otherwise I ain't gonna make it. But yeah, no, you know what's funny because you talk about that because there's a whole broad spectrum of people that, you know, some people are super intimidated with homes. Rightfully so. There's a lot of components that go on. I actually, when I was just down in Texas, my uncle-in-law, he owned a lot of property in Washington. He even said, he's like, I just bought a bunch of houses. I don't fear any home. I'm willing to do the work to learn about it. And I don't want to talk myself out of a job, but YouTube's a beautiful thing, man. Like if something breaks, just, you know, be willing to check it out. Like figure it out. Like how does it work? Like let's make, and if you don't want to, just be happy with sucking it up and paying the money.
Well, and then too though, it's like, well, what's the alternative to home ownership, right? Like if that scares you,
you're not curbing inflation.
Are you gonna lose money on this house? It's like, well, you're not gonna come out ahead renting, that's for sure. You know, versus like that, you know. Well, I don't know if we're really talking about that, but like talking about appreciation and stuff like that, and how the housing market goes. So it's like, well,
it's the only curb to inflation, right? Like if you rent your whole life, you're always at mercy to that landlord to up your rent, right? If you're able to get into a house in a good, reasonable amount and within budget, like you'll curb that inflation and be far ahead. So.
And then too, they talk about like the net, like the average net worth of a homeowner is, you know, what are like 200,000?
Sure,
whatever.
Whatever.
Versus renting, it's like, you know, 5 or 10,000 or
yep.
whatever. You know, just because you know what I mean.
Well, and if you get to retirement, you don't have a mortgage payment, which is I don't know anybody else's, but that's my biggest bill. I don't know, groceries are getting up there too, though. So I don't know.
Gas.
Yeah, we stopped by the gas station.
Yeah, filled up my 4-cylinder sedan for $70. But
you must have rode your bike here,
right? And if you don't have that payment, man, that's easy street, dude. You get to live your golden years and just not have a mortgage payment. And no. And I thought I saw a couple other questions. I don't know if it was about. There was one that I had a good story, but I can't remember what it was on.
Challenges?
I mean inspections. So yeah, maybe that's what it was. So being an inspector it's always changing. You know, technology's getting up there, so it's a weird dynamic. So the challenges of learning new technology, but also being proficient in that super old stuff. You know, so just staying up on it, that's tough. So, but YouTube's a beautiful thing. I'm certified through Internachi, and they have a really good platform for like education to dive into stuff. So I'm grateful to be certified by them and have that kind of good little. They have like a whole website with just tons of videos and education stuff.
But it's crazy too, because even, you know, if you think now like Ring doorbells and stuff like that, like what that does, and you can open your garage door from your phone and your thermostat through your phone. Like there's just a lot of extra components that, like as an inspector, one of those, like you probably don't have to be an expert on any of those things, but at least
gotta know a little bit to answer questions. And I think not being afraid to say I don't know. I think a lot of inspectors get in trouble when they're like trying to BS their way through. Like, I know what this is, but in reality, like, I have no idea. I'm always willing to say, hey, man, I'm not sure, but I will find an expert that knows, and then I'll relay that information, or I'll get you in contact with them. And then everyone grows, right? I learn, they learn, and it all works out.
Well, and that's the best thing too for like, you know, because again, like one of the ways I look at like what we do is like get people what they want without suing each other. Right. Exactly. So it's like we tell sellers, okay, you know, when you fill out a seller's property disclosure, meaning like asking you a bunch of questions about the home, like answer all the questions. And if you're like, hey, I'm not sure if I should disclose this or not, like the answer is yes.
Absolutely.
Right. And like, well, what if I don't know? Well, it's like, well, then you don't know, and you can't disclose what you don't know. But if it's like, well, I got water here one time, but that was a lot, it's
right.
like, well, yeah.
Well, and that's, with my little water situation, it was a small puddle. And so I was like, hey, do I need to disclose this? Like, it didn't cause any structural damage. It's usually not something you have to. And I could be totally wrong. You guys are the experts, but that's what just the realtor I was using at the time told me. So.
Wow.
But,
Okay.
Calm down.
Thanks for coming, pal.
I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, but that's like the fear, right? So you help somebody buy a house, and then all of a sudden next spring they call you, be like, hey Josh, hey Spencer, they said there was no water. Now we got all this water down here. Like, what happened? What did the seller not disclose? What did the inspector miss? What did you not tell me? What did we not see? So then it gets into this weird thing.
Sure.
So that's all I was going with that. It's just like, if we're all kind of on the same page. Because that's the other thing too. It's like, when it comes to foundation and water, like, well, did something change over the last year? Like, we just had a really cold, dark, lonely winter. But we just had a nasty winter, right? And so... But just trying to, because those are the worst, right? Like our job, like we always say, like our job is like spread joy and empower other people,
Absolutely.
Right? So big picture, but then coming down to like what doesn't spread joy and empower other people is, those not joy spreading conversations.
Yeah.
So we do our best, like build our business as you do on like repeat and referral stuff like that.
Yep.
So then we leave like hugs at the closing table and stuff, thinking everything went great. And then all of a sudden, a couple months later, like, hey, Josh, I'm super upset right now.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of mad at you because
Well, it's not just like you bought a cheeseburger and it didn't come right. I bought a home and it sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's really expensive.
Big ticket item.
But on the like, people also got to remember, like, yes, inspectors aren't perfect and they can miss some stuff, but like your house can also, like, things can happen while you live in it. Like things deteriorate and like.
Goes back
just because your foundation is messed up now doesn't mean it was when you bought it.
Right.
Like,
well, and it's just like that whole thing, or it's like, well, the foundation, like I took a level to it and it's not level. Well, the house is 80 years old. How long has it not been level? 79 years,
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things, just trying to like set everybody up for success, being like, okay, we're going to get you the house that you really want. You're going to be able to build equity and do all this type of stuff. And like some stuff can happen. So this is going to give you the best idea of what it's going to be like to live in there.
Buying a home is like start to finish is stressful. And there's a lot of moving components for it. And we do everything we can to make sure that everyone's happy. But it still turns out like things happen, man. Yeah. It's just the way life is.
Well, you can't, again, like we talked about weather, and you can't, there's like intrusive inspections and non-intrusive inspections. So you can't be drilling holes through walls at people's houses and stuff like that. So there's only so much, but it's like, we're all just doing
technically,
our best here.
it's weird. So like internationally, it gives you the ability to basically say, hey, yes, I'm only supposed to not look, I can't move anything. I can't start moving stuff. I've got to it's just visual. But let's be real. Let's like treat people how we would want to be treated. Let's dig a little bit. Let's kind of like, we can move something out of the way to see something else. You know what I mean? So we can climb on roofs. We can get in attics. We can do these things that another human being would prefer them to do. So I do my best to just try to treat my customers how I would want to be treated, and then obviously respect your guys' side of the things, because I don't want to step on your toes either and get into your realm. So you're exactly right. It's just, let's just treat people how we want to be treated, man.
You should maybe look into getting X-ray vision.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like that. That'd be sweet. I think I'd be a winner.
What's more important to you that's kept you from getting X-ray vision?
Yeah.
What's so important?
I feel like that's a violation. I feel like somebody get mad at that. That'd be cool.
It's a good spot to end the pod, I think.
Yeah. You got anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right.
2 cents, baby.
Watch for deer.
Shake
no. Not the deer. Not the deer.